Tonight on NewsWatch Ole Miss, coronavirus cases appear to be dipping across the country as the Omicron wave continues. We'll take a look at cases in our state and what may be coming after Omicron.
New studies show just how impactful regular exercise can be and how Mississippi is lagging in physical health. We'll take a look at those numbers coming up.
Vladimir Putin is the neighborhood bully, and he's never gotten a bloody nose.
And tensions are rising in Europe as Russia ramps up aggression in Ukraine. The latest on that budding conflict and more from Senator Wicker are straight ahead. NewsWatch Ole Miss starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Ole Miss. I'm Lila Blue.
And I'm Hannah Baker. The record-breaking wave of coronavirus cases that has swept the nation in recent months has seemed to reach its peak, but experts are still urging caution as case numbers remain high.
Across the U.S., it's spread like wildfire.
The stunning thing about Omicron is how remarkably infectious it is. I've been doing infectious disease control for 30 years, and with the possible exception of measles, it is the most infectious virus I've seen.
In less than 2 months, Omicron has packed a punch on the U.S., setting records after accounting for nearly all new COVID cases, pushing Delta into the background. While cases may fall as quickly as they rose, health experts say don't count the variant out just yet.
The biggest risk is that the fact that we are all so very tired of COVID will lead to us letting down our guard, and if another variant comes, we won't respond effectively.
Former CDC Director Dr. Tom Frieden says for people who are vaccinated and boosted, which is now about a quarter of the U.S. population, COVID-19 caused by Omicron may be similar in severity to the flu in many respects, or they may have no symptoms at all. The concern comes with those who aren't vaccinated.
The virus is adapting. As long as we adapt, we can move forward. If we don't adapt to the virus, it's going to continue to get ahead of us because no one, and I want to emphasize this, no one can predict with accuracy what's coming after Omicron.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Omicron has even impacted the start of the school year here at the university. COVID cases spiked at the start of the new semester, but numbers have been slowly going down in the past week. Currently, there are 73 active student cases and 51 faculty and staff cases on campus. The CDC encourages those exposed to the virus to quarantine and get tested. A list of COVID-19 testing sites can be found at coronavirus.olemiss.edu.
Healthcare workers are burning out from 2 years of working in a pandemic. To help Mississippi doctors, the federal government awarded $3 million to the University of Mississippi Medical Center. It is awarded to address COVID stress brought on the healthcare workers. Many workers have even left the profession because they are burnt out. But with the new $3 million award, there might be a turnaround. The 3-year funding comes from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. UMMC will create new programs through the Office of Well-Being to alleviate stress and mental health challenges of workers.
The federal government is also trying to help the general public by providing mail-order COVID tests. Some Americans have started receiving their free COVID-19 tests provided by the Biden administration. One woman who placed her order 6 days ago when the federal website went live said she received her kit over the weekend. Supplies are limited to 4 tests per household and can be ordered at special.usps.com.
The first free N95 masks have arrived at U.S. pharmacies from the effort of the Biden administration. Up to 3 free masks are available to every person in the U.S. The administration is seeking to ramp up access to high-quality masks amid the spread of the new Omicron variant. Masks set up at some grocery stores in the Midwest already, and southeastern grocery stores should receive shipments later this week. The administration announced last week that the $400 million N95 masks program is expected to be fully up and running by early February.
6 states have now fully vaccinated more than 75% of their population. Mississippi is not among them. About 63% of American population is fully vaccinated against COVID-19, but about 25% also have their booster. In Mississippi, less than 50% of the eligible population is fully vaccinated. It is just one of 4 states where that is the case. Alabama, Idaho, and Wyoming are among the others. Across the country, nearly 29% of those eligible to get vaccinated have not received any dose. And the COVID-19 booster could eventually become a yearly shot. At least that is the hope of Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla. Borla said he wants people to get a yearly COVID-19 vaccine like the flu instead of them getting a booster every several months. Right now, Pfizer is looking to create a vaccine that protects against Omicron and some of the other variants. In local restaurant news, this semester may have noticed a few small changes made in Oxford, including one with a popular coffee chain. NewsWatch reporter Sarah Gale Myers has more.
With every new year comes new beginnings for Oxford, but at least one of these beginnings has been in the works for over 5 years. In 2013, Gretchen Williams opened her first small business, Heartbreak Coffee, in Long Beach, California.
I mean, when I started, the goal was to have my own coffee shop. And, you know, now that I've reached that, I think it's just continuing to grow.
Williams then moved to Oxford in 2016 and went into business with the owners of Uptown Coffee, selling her hand-roasted coffee through them, and later taking full ownership of the business.
I had debated back and forth whether or not to leave it Uptown or to change it to a Heartbreak for a while. And I ended up deciding to change it to a Heartbreak. Basically, just that brand was, like I said, you know, it's kind of my baby, something I created back in 2013.
With this rebranding, Williams has been able to sell her coffee roasts along with homemade food and pastry options, as well as merchandise.
Despite the changes, this place is still known for their great coffee and trendy, quiet atmosphere that's perfect for study or work. I'm Sarah Gale Myers, NewsWatch Ole Miss.
Heartbreak Coffee has 2 locations here in Oxford, one on the square on North Lamar across from the courthouse, and one on Sisk Avenue where their roastery and bakery are located.
The restaurant industry is continuing to suffer with nearly a 90% drop in business due to the new Omicron variant. The National Restaurant Association says 80% of business experienced a decline in demand in the recent weeks. A new survey found 76% of restaurant operators are seeing a decline in business, even worse than about 3 months ago. Yesterday, the association sent a letter to Congress asking lawmakers to replenish the nearly $29 billion revitalization fund in the upcoming legislation package.
Coronavirus vaccination isn't the only area that the health of Mississippians is lacking. The CDC recently released the map of states' inactivity levels, which shows 25% of adults are not active enough to protect their health. Mississippi was one of 7 states and Puerto Rico which had an inactivity rate of over 30%. The CDC defines inactivity as not participating in any physical activity outside of work over the last month, which could include running, walking, or even gardening. The CDC recommends at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity each week.
This weekend, a fatal wreck claimed the lives of 2 Lafayette County residents. On Saturday, the Oxford Police Department responded to a call on Highway 7 near the Serenity Funeral Home for a 3-vehicle wreck. 40-year-old Maggie Keller and 42-year-old Tyrone Jones were both pronounced dead at the scene. Another driver received life-threatening injuries and was flown from the scene to the North Mississippi Medical Center in Tupelo and is currently in the ICU. The driver of the 3rd vehicle declined medical treatment. The cause of the crash is currently under investigation.
A controversial bill was recently advanced by a Mississippi Senate committee that would change the way race is discussed in the classroom. Senate Bill 2113 bans schools from teaching critical race theory, an academic framework that examines how racism has shaped public policy and institutions, such as the legal system. Despite the push for the bill in the Senate, the state superintendent of education has said the theory is not being taught in schools. Similar bans have been gaining traction across conservative states.
The Mississippi State House passed a bill establishing equal pay for women and men last week, but many advocates of gender equality feel that the bill is not strong enough. Critics say that the bill does little to help minority women who are more likely to be hired at low wages than white women or men. House Bill 770 passed with bipartisan support and will move to the Senate for more work. It only applies to employees who work 40-hour weeks. While equal pay for men and women is already a federal law and has been for decades, Mississippi is the only state without its own equal pay law.
Governor Tate Reeves is set to deliver his State of the State address tomorrow. The governor plans to share Mississippi's successes in the face of the pandemic and give a vision for the year ahead, while controversial bills including medical marijuana before the state legislature. The speech will take place at the state capitol in Jackson, along with a live stream of the address at 4 p.m.
The United States is ready to deploy troops as Russia refuses to back down in Ukraine, but they aren't the only world power whose aggression is causing concern. More on global tensions coming up, but first, here is a look at your current conditions.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere will bring us wireless emergency alerts. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
We're being flooded with false information. The more we mindlessly share, the more misinformation threatens us and puts our democracy at risk. But together, we can help protect our communities before it's too late. It's time to check our sources and verify our facts. Let's care before we share.
Mom, I got it. What are you doing in there?
I got stuck.
Are you a dog?
I wouldn't do that. Have you seen the pliers? Where'd you find those?
It's not your birthday.
Sorry.
Bye, Grandpa.
Bye, Grandpa.
Take care of yourself.
What are you doing? What are you looking for?
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you.
This is the moment I knew his future had no boundaries.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Tensions have been on the rise for days in Europe as Russia continues to ramp up its aggression toward neighboring states like Ukraine. Meanwhile, Chinese fighter jets crossed into Taiwan yesterday and today. CNN's Chris Wynn has the latest on global tensions.
Amid mounting fears of a Russian incursion into Ukraine.
Even as we continue to prioritize diplomacy and dialogue, we must also increase readiness.
The Biden administration is considering deploying several thousand U.S. troops to Eastern Europe and the Baltics. The potential move meant to deter Russia from invading Ukraine.
The United States has taken steps to heighten the readiness of its forces at home and abroad so that they are prepared to respond to a range of contingencies, including support to the NATO response force if it is activated.
With Russia amassing troops along the Ukrainian border and British intelligence services reporting the Kremlin's possible intentions to install a pro-Russian leader in Kiev, U.S. and NATO allies are taking a firmer stance. The Kremlin called those reports hysteria.
The United States will act firmly in defense of its national interests in response to actions by Russia that harm us, our allies, our partners.
Russia sees NATO's growing support for Ukraine as a threat to its own security.
There are certain basic principles that we're not by one iota going to compromise on, including, for example, NATO's open door, the right of countries to choose with whom they'll associate.
The U.S. military also reacting to another incident overseas after dozens of Chinese warplanes crossed into Taiwan's air defense identification zone Sunday and Monday. China's aggression following a U.S.-Japan show of naval force in the Philippine Sea. In Washington, I'm Chris Wynn.
This weekend, Mississippi Republican Senator Roger Wicker, who sits on the Armed Forces Committee, said that there was bipartisan condemnation of Russia's actions and that the United States should be prepared and to aid Ukraine.
We always have to try diplomacy, but I do think now is the time to actually show that we're going to try to provide the weaponry to the Ukrainians to actually defend themselves.
The federal case against 3 former officers involved in George Floyd's death began today. 2 officers are charged with failing to intervene in the unreasonable use of force by another officer. They proceeded to restrain Floyd's legs while the officer pressed his knee into his back. Bystanders were held back as the scene unfolded. Now all 3 men have been charged with failing to administer first aid and plead not guilty to their crimes. Derek Chauvin, the man convicted of killing George Floyd, is serving 22.5-year sentence.
4 years after Travis Ryan King allegedly killed 4 people at a Waffle House in the Nashville area, his trial is set to begin next week. Ryan King is charged with 4 counts of murder from the shooting at the Antioch Waffle House on April 22, 2018. His trial was put on hold for many months while he was being treated for schizophrenia, but a judge deemed him fit for trial now. Ryan King has pleaded not guilty to the 4 counts of murder. He is facing life in prison.
And in financial news, if you get paid for goods and services on Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, you might be affected by a new tax rule. Payment app providers must now issue its users a 1099-K tax form if they make more than $600 through business transactions during the year. This applies to any payment for a good or service, including tips. On the other hand, reimbursing a friend for dinner or getting money from your parents does not count. The change starts this tax year, and forms will be going out early 2023.
Coming up in sports, the Ole Miss women's basketball team has been on fire lately, and their latest ranking in the AP poll shows that they are a legitimate force in women's basketball. And last night's Bills vs. Chiefs matchup was electric. Find out what that means up next in sports.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? I'm high. Oh.
On October 15, 2017, 2 words changed the course of history. The words we wrote that day are a part of a longer and even more powerful history.
The wounds become scars.
Things are changing.
We really need everyone's voices.
Today, we all have a chance to write another chapter, powered by everyday activism as simple as joining a march or reading a book, written to a permanent archive on a public blockchain.
Because it takes a sea of us coming forward to demand change.
Because no matter who you are, you can act too. The end of sexual violence begins with this next act.
Times during class, and I tell her to talk to him, and it's like, oh, ew.
Worried about your friend, but don't know how to reach out?
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat with them in VR, it's all good. If you think you should check in, yeah, you should.
Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health.
Whatever gets you talking.
Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Our very own Ole Miss women's basketball team was hot with a 6-0 road record going into Lexington over the weekend. And that flame is still burning for Coach Yo and her Rebs after last night in Roop Arena. Shakira Austin put the team on her back, scoring 24 points through the 40-minute hardwood battle. On the defensive side of the ball, Ole Miss didn't allow the Wildcats to hit a single three for the second time in SEC play. In the final 4 minutes, the Rebs held UK to just one basket, securing their fifth SEC win, 63-54. And Coach Yo continues to break records and build an empire for the Lady Rebels. For the first time since 2007, the Ole Miss women's basketball team is ranked in the AP poll. After their upset over Kentucky and Lexington, the Rebels were able to earn a spot in the coveted top 25 poll. This couldn't come at a better time, with Ole Miss heading to Columbia on Thursday to take on the #1 ranked Gamecocks. The competition doesn't get any easier this weekend, with the Rebs facing number 13 Georgia at home on Sunday afternoon. The men's team has found little success the past few weeks in SEC play, but will be looking to turn things around against Florida tonight at the Pavilion. Head coach Kermit Davis and the Rebels have lost their last 4, including losses to number 4 Auburn and Mississippi State. Tonight's matchup against the Gators was originally scheduled to be the SEC opener for the Rebels, but was canceled due to COVID issues within the Florida program. The Rebels are set to tip off tonight at 6 p.m. The Ole Miss men's tennis team has an international-based roster, and they have increased that depth today with the addition of Swedish 2-time European Championship quarterfinalist Isaac Stromberg. Stromberg is Sweden's top-ranked junior prospect, and according to the International Tennis Federation, he is number 94 in the world. His 13 universal tennis rankings rank among collegiate tennis elite. The Swedish junior will be enrolling at the University of Mississippi in the fall, where he will be the one to watch for the 2022 to 2023 tennis season. It was an unbelievable weekend of football, capped off with one of the greatest AFC division games of all time between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. While there were a lot of great moments the entire game, perhaps the best moments were in the last 2 minutes of the game. The Bills were down by 4 before quarterback Josh Allen sent a dart to find Gabriel Davis in the back of the end zone. The Bills opted to go for the 2-point conversion and were successful. Less than a minute later, Tyreek Hill of the Chiefs scored a 64-yard touchdown to retake the lead. The Bills had 1 minute and 2 seconds left to score. They stormed down the field, and Allen found Gabriel Davis again for his 4th touchdown of the night. It seemed as though the Bills had done it and would be advancing. Surely 13 seconds wouldn't be enough time. However, it's usually best not to underestimate Patrick Mahomes. In 3 plays and 13 seconds, the Chiefs went 44 yards to set up a field goal to send it into overtime. The Chiefs won the toss to set up another Mahomes touchdown pass to win the game and advance. Arrowhead Stadium went crazy as they watched the Chiefs advance to another AFC championship. As Chiefs head coach Andy Reid so eloquently put it, when it gets grim, be the Grim Reaper. And that's all I've got for sports. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at rebel_watch for the latest sports updates.
Thank you, Ruby. Candy hearts have been Valentine's Day staple for years, but with the holiday quickly approaching, the treats are getting a little redesign. Find out the changes coming up next.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy. What do you call a pig that knows karate? Pork chop. So how does a tissue dance? Put a little boogie on
it. Freedom. It's at the core of who we are. The freedom to live without fear, to jog where we please, to wear a hoodie. The freedom to breathe. Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are distinguished as a Carnegie R1 top 2.5% research institution. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Be mine, I love you. You know the words. The ones you can find on Sweethearts around Valentine's Day. Well, this year, the classic holiday candy is going through a bit of a rebrand.
Rather than sentiments of love and affection, shaped candies will bear words of encouragement like "you got this" and "high five." But if you consider yourself old school, the classics will still be available in addition to the new look. So what are your go-to Valentine's Day gifts?
I would definitely say flowers or candy. What about you, Ruby?
I love classic red roses.
I can definitely agree. That's all for tonight. You can catch all of our shows on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and our website every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday this semester. For NewsWatch Ole Miss, I'm Hannah Baker.
And I'm Lila Blue. Make sure to follow us on social media for the latest updates. Thank you and good night.